Hello, everybody. It is Romania Black, and wow, it's been like a year. A year? It's been a good solid year since we've talked about Bungo Stray Dogs. Or at least it's been a while. I know I just reacted to the stage play a few weeks ago, but yeah, it's been a while since I've got to react to Bungo Stray Dogs, and I'm really freaking excited. So I actually stopped Bungo Stray Dogs like way back in like early of this last year when I finished Bungo Stray Dogs 1. So I haven't touched the series in a while. I watched a trailer when season 4 was announced, but I've been staying away from all the other resources and other trailers and previews because I want to go in as completely blind as possible because I'm anime only. And so, but we're finally here. Bungo Stray Dogs, the season 4 is coming out in a few weeks. It's going to be replacing Death Note on Saturdays, not Sundays, because we're doing Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho actually replaced Bungo Stray Dogs, which is a fun time. So it's just going to be the day before. Seems fitting. Bungo's coming back. Same weekend as Bones, same weekend as Mob Psycho, just, in a different time slot. So... But I told everybody when I finished Bungo Stray Dogs 1 that I wanted to do a recap. And so I wanted to go back and just kind of just prep. It's been a while since we've talked about Bungo Stray Dogs, to kind of just talk about the themes that I enjoy with the series, to talk about the 2 light novels that I've read. I've not read nearly as much light novels as I've wanted to read, but hopefully I'll get a chance to look at Beast after season 4 is over in the spring. We'll see. But I want to talk about the manga and kind of what I have discovered, because once I finished Bungo Stray Dogs 1, I'm like, I want to go back and read the manga and catch up and see if there's anything different. There's a few things different that I do want to talk about, but I want to talk about the novels, the manga, the themes and things that I enjoy. We're going to do a character tier, my favorite episodes, just kind of doing a short little recap. I say it's short. Y'all know how I ramble. Hopefully it's not going to be that long, though. Maybe not. Just to kind of recap the series before we dive into season 4, in case if you need a light refresher. I needed a refresher going back and reading the manga. I needed it. I actually read several volumes this last week that I'd gotten to volume 9, and then I kind of stopped, and I was like, oh, I'll catch up, and then I got busy with other things. So I literally have read volumes 10, 11, 12, and part of 13 leading up to this week. So I've been busy reading Bungo Stray Dogs and catching up, and I was like, oh good, I remember these characters' names now. Great. Because I remember all of the agency and the Port Mafia, but some of the antagonists, I was like, wait, which author is this? But I'm really looking forward to getting back into season 4 to be reviewing authors and the characters they're tied with. That was one of my favorite parts of the original series when I did that. But man, looking back, Bungo Stray Dogs, it was the winner of the poll to replace Banana Fish, of all things, which is baffling to me. I was like, man, Banana Fish it replaced. Wow. And I was looking back at my earlier reactions of Bungo Stray Dogs. They were 11 minutes long. I was like, remember when I didn't talk a lot? Remember when I just had really short reviews? Why did that end? What made me talk on and on endlessly now? I feel like now 30 minutes feels like too soon. 30 minutes feels like a too short reaction and discussion. And now looking back, I was like, man, Jujutsu Kaisen and Bungo Stray Dogs, I had 10 minutes. I was like, well, 10 minutes, talked all I wanted, bye. And now it's if it's 30 minutes, I feel like I'm not talking enough. So who knows? I don't know. I think Attack on Titan is what made me talk longer, if I'm honest. I think Attack on Titan made me start talking more about series, because I was like, oh, we need to talk about this, this, and this, and then it kind of just evolved from there, right? I honestly think that's what got me into talking more about those series at the time. So you all can blame Attack on Titan for me rambling endlessly now for series. But yeah, so Bungo Stray Dogs, let's just go ahead and we'll just dive right in and just kind of talk about going back to this series. Talking about just the themes that I like most. So we'll start out with the themes and kind of going over those. The biggest one, obviously, for me is found family. It's just the idea of found family. You have the agency, who's this quirky gathering of characters that have all different kinds of personalities, all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kinds of families and experiences and different abilities, and they all come together to help keep their city safe. And then you have the Port Mafia, who again is a found family of very similar backgrounds, similar things, just different, right? just different. We'll talk about that here in a second with another theme. And then just the concept of creating your own family. Because a lot of these characters, either their families have passed, or they're orphans, or they just don't have that structure, and so they create their own. So I always like that. It's like, you know, I feel like sometimes, I know for me, I have some friends that I'm closer with than my own family, and that's just how it is. It's like sometimes you find people that become your found family and you love them just as much as your blood relatives. So I love that concept and that theme that's throughout this. I think it's awesome. I think going along with that is, with that found family, is the acceptance of ourselves and our flaws. Because that's something that's really, really, especially with Atsushi, Octogawa, Dazai, all those main characters struggle with who they are and their abilities and the flaws within themselves that those abilities have kind of lent to. And then it's this idea of kind of persevering and carrying on and moving forward despite that, and realizing that what makes them unique and powerful may have detriments, but that doesn't mean that they're worthless or useless or less of a person. I love that, especially rereading the manga, seeing Atsushi struggle with his mentor, and we'll talk about that. Going back and rereading, I was like, but just him struggling to find acceptance of himself, it makes his character so good, and you want to root for Atsushi because you're like, dude, I think everybody can understand or has had a moment where they've doubted themselves or have questioned, like, am I good at something? Is this fine? I'm flawed. What do I do with this? And so I feel like Atsushi is a really great protagonist to follow because his struggles are pretty relatable, right? And then the idea, the concept of loyalty and duty. I think Fukuzawa and Mori are perfect examples of that. I want to call Fukuzawa Fuku-chan now, because he reminded me of Fuyutsuki from Neon Genesis now. So we had Fuyu-chan in Neon Genesis, now I want to have Fuku-chan, because I was really struggling with Fukuzawa's name until I went and reread the manga. I was like, God, what's his name? And then I was like, Fukuzawa. I'm like, I'm just going to call him Fuku-chan. But him and Mori, and the idea of loyalty and duty of their organizations, because when we get to the flashback of Fukuzawa and he was an assassin, the Silver Wolf, you know, he was not concerned about if people lived or died, but once he became the president and had a group of people under him, suddenly his philosophy and mindset kind of shifts a little bit. And then you have Mori, who is very willing to make sacrifices because it is for the sake of the mafia. He's like, I don't like doing this, but I have to do it because that's my job as the leader. And it's like, ah! So I love the idea that they have about loyalty, and you get that with Chuya. Chuya is incredibly loyal. You get that with Atsushi. It's funny how certain characters, you have characters from the Port Mafia and characters from the agency that have overlapping ideologies, even though their characters are totally different. Like Atsushi and Chuya don't have a lot in common at all, but they're fiercely loyal characters, and they're fiercely loyal to their friends and their comrades. So it's cool to see those kind of parallels with characters. And I think the author, the mangaka, does a really good job of making these characters kind of have similar threads and parallel threads to each other without being like, oh, this is the mafia's version of this archetype and this is the agency's version of this archetype. No, they're different, and they're not exactly archetypes, which that's another thing too. There's not really an archetype in this series. The only one that's really there for me is the farmer boy, and God, his name has now escaped me. I'm going to have to look it up before we do the character tier. But dear God, yeah, the one he has the strength, and his name has escaped me. He's the only kind of stereotypical character, because it's like, oh, the farmer has the great strength sort of thing. He's the only really stereotypical archetype out of all of them. Everybody else kind of is their own unique character, and I like that. I like that the show doesn't have like the macho man or the damsel in distress or anything. It doesn't have those kind of like simplistic generalized characters that you would expect from a series. It definitely is a hodgepodge of very strange, eccentric characters, and I love it. Right? But that kind of goes along with this theme that connects to the whole idea of found family, because you have the found family of the agency and the found family of the Port Mafia, and that is that no one in this series, there's a very interesting use of gray throughout Bungo Stray Dogs, where nobody is perfectly pure and innocent and good. Every side has its flaws. Even our heroes, who are part of the agency, whose job is to protect the city, their characters have their own flaws too. Sometimes their characters do bad things. Kunikita, he can't save a girl from blowing up, like, you know, and he has to deal with that. Rampo, you know, has to deal with the fact that sometimes his deductions and everything don't save people in the end, like with the one guy that ends up dying. So yeah, it's there. I like the idea that these characters, especially like Dazai, is extremely gray, and you kind of question. Dazai's a cool character because you question, like, he has been on both sides. He doesn't really stick with either one. He kind of is just a lone wolf, just wherever there's food in front of him and wherever he feels the cause, he gravitates towards. So he's a very interesting character, especially rereading the manga and seeing just how sometimes he'll give a look or something on the page, and you can tell that it's not the pure heroic look. It's like, no, this guy is thinking of some dastardly stuff. And going along with Dazai, though, is the theme about redemption and second chances. And that relates to the Dark Era and Oda, and the idea that Dazai's like, I know I'm not good. Like, how can I keep going when I know I'm this horrible person? And Oda's like, no, you can keep going. You can change. You can do stuff for the better. You're not bound by this one fate, right? And then Dazai, in turn, takes those words from Oda and passes them on to Kyoko later on in season 3. So fun times, right? Fun times indeed. Or season 2 rather. Fun times. But then I like also at the end of all this, it's kind of like Bungo Stray Dogs. I love detective series. I love crime thrillers and noir. And Bungo Stray Dogs kind of combines the idea of like a detective caper show with superheroes. So you have like, it's like if Sherlock Holmes met My Hero Academia sort of thing, where you have the detective stories, the capers, the thrillers, but they all have an ability. For the most part, unless you're Lovecraft. But yeah, I love Bungo Stray Dogs and all the themes that it has with it. It's such a refreshing and unique story. It's definitely kind of niche, so I can see why it's not like a big mainstream. I feel like it's still really, really popular because people are really excited about season 4. But I feel like it's not, when you say Bungo Stray Dogs, it's not like a show that people immediately know what you're talking about, or at least it doesn't seem to be. Although, as a teacher, I will say I have seen more and more like Bungo Stray Dogs merchandise. I remember a few years ago, or right around the time, I guess it was last year, when this series was ending, I saw a student and she had like a Dazai sticker on her laptop, and I was like, oh, Dazai! And she was like, like, you know? Like, I feel like you're in a club if you know Bungo Stray Dogs. I feel like you're in an exclusive club that you know that nobody else knows. Because she was just like, how do you know about this series? And I was like, oh, well, I like Dazai a lot. Oh. So yeah, that is one thing I really, really love about this series. It just feels like you're like in an insider club if you watch the show. And it's really cute. It's really good. Each season was really good. And we'll talk about ranking everything down below. But those are my comments about themes with the series, or at least what we've gotten so far. I'm very curious to hear what other themes people talked about down below. Those were the ones that stood out to me. You could probably list a whole bunch of other ones, but those were like the general themes that I thought fit this series the best, that I kind of gravitated towards. As far as novels go, I have unfortunately not been able to read a whole lot of the novels. I originally intended to, and then I've just gotten too busy. But I did read Dazai's Entrance Exam and The Dark Era. Oh, the Dark Era novel. I feel like the Dark Era was necessary. And I did read also the 15 Years. I did read Chuya and Dazai at 15 years old. I did read that novel as well. I'm going to add that to here. I did read that one because it was about Rando, who is not, their story is not in the manga. I think that's important to note. If you go and read the manga, you're not going to see the light novel stories within them, which is kind of interesting. I do know, I haven't read Dead Apple. I haven't read the not light novel for it yet. And I haven't looked at Beast. My goal after season 4 is to look at Beast. I don't know if I'm going to read the novel or watch the movie, probably both, if I'm being honest. If there's a manga adaptation, I probably want to look at it too. The concept of Beast is fascinating to me, and the fact that it's a canon AU. How often does that happen in series? That fascinates me a lot. But I wanted to wait and do it after season 4. And do the same thing maybe with Stormbringer, depending. I've been told by people in the comments it would depend on how far they get in the anime, whether I should read Stormbringer or not. We'll see. But yeah, as far as the 3 novels that I have read, The Entrance Exam is mainly from Kunikita's perspective, which I like that about these novels. They're not all from like Dazai or Atsushi's perspective. They're from like the side characters that are the primary focus, right? So with Kunikita and Dazai's entrance exam, it kind of goes back to episodes 6 and 7 from season 1. And I really liked that novel a lot. When I started it, I read it first because it was first in order. And I was like, oh, those episodes were good. I liked episode 7 a lot. But I was like, it'll be fine. But I really liked the light novel for it. If you like Kunikita as a character, seeing the story from his perspective is really cool. And there's like a weird like sexual element to it. I don't know how else to describe it, but like Kunikita talking about like his attraction towards the woman that ends up dying and everything. There is like almost like a romantic sexual aspect to it. And that fits Kunikita's character because he's a poet, right? He's Dappo. So it's very, very interesting, and it expands upon those 2 episodes a lot. And I really enjoyed it. But y'all, I mean, if you saw me react to the stage play, The Dark Era, that is the one sad thing about the manga, is that we really don't have the Dark Era in manga form. We don't get it in the volumes, and it's so sad because throughout the manga, and we're going to talk about it next, throughout the manga, Dazai keeps like seeing little images of Oda, seeing little references. And I can only imagine if you were a manga reader that hadn't seen the anime yet and were like, who the hell is this guy he keeps referring to and keeps thinking about? What is this? And then you watched the anime and saw the light novel and you were like, oh, this is Odasaku. Okay. Ha! The mystery is solved. I love the Dark Era light novel. The fact we've talked about it in the Discord, Dana has talked about it alongside me. We've had conversations about it. But Oda's perspective, seeing it from his point of view, mwah. Oda, if you cannot see the little Odasaku man doll back there, Oda, and then the mug that's like right there. Oda is like my favorite character in Bungo Stray Dogs. He's such a good character. I love the Dark Era for being his point of view, and he's so influential to the whole story, right? Which we'll talk about with the manga as well. But it's so cool to see it from his perspective. I like gobbled up that light novel. I think I read it in like a few days. I was just like, keep on going. Which for me, I can be a slow reader. So I often take my time reading because I want to like really focus on the details. So I can read fast, but I like to read slow, if that makes sense. So, but I have like powered through a Dark Era. And Dazai and Chuya at 15 years old too. I like that the anime saw fit to like take 2 light novels and start out the seasons with them, because they kind of set up the dynamics of those characters for the rest of the season of the anime. So it was a smart choice, I feel like. I think it works better in the Dark Era because we start fresh with the guild and you can end the 4 episodes of the Dark Era and then immediately cut into season 2. And it doesn't feel like you're continuing from anything. Season 3, that part of the manga is a little bit hodgepodge. And it is definitely noticeable when you have the first 3 episodes of Chuya and Dazai, and then you get into this hodgepodge stuff. It doesn't flow nearly as well, but it still works, right? It still works between them. But yeah, that light novel is really good as well. Those 3 are the ones I've read. I enjoyed them. I feel like I'm going to like Beast a lot because Atsushi and Akutagawa are 2 of my favorites. So I feel like I'm going to enjoy that series a lot when I get to it. But yeah, so manga differences. Like I said, I started reading the manga around the time that I was doing Bungo Stray Dogs 1 because I was kind of curious about the manga and how different it was, right? And as I'm talking to y'all, I like want to find the name of, is it Kenji? Is it Kenji? Is Kenji the one that has the, yes, he's from the countryside. Thank goodness. I was like, I need to know his name before I go on or it's going to drive me crazy. It's Kenji. Woo. But yeah, so I started reading the manga and I got to volume 9 and it was right around the time season 3 was going to start, and then I got busy with something else. And so I've gone back this last week and read the manga leading up to season 3. And honestly, the first 2 volumes of the manga, there's not a lot of difference from the anime. Not too much. I will say this. Akutagawa, Dazai, they are the 2 best drawn characters in the whole manga. The mangaka loves drawing Akutagawa and Dazai all the time. They are the best. Atsushi's drawn really well. So is Mori and Fyodor. But you can tell that Dazai and Akutagawa, all that black ink, like you could just tell the mangaka loves it. And Dazai's expression in the manga, he just looks, it's very unsettling because Akutagawa and Dazai have like pitch black eyes, and most of the characters in the manga have like a light color eye, and they look like much more serene, kind of ethereal looking in the manga. But Dazai's black eyes make him look really creepy. And I think it fits his character really well. And then Akutagawa just looks menacing, right? So until we get to volume 3, there's not really a lot of changes between the anime and the manga. It's a pretty solid adaptation. And I just made some notes throughout. Volume 3, volume 3 is such a tease, because I remember reading it and going, wait, what? Because we not only get a preview of Fitzgerald in volume 3, we also get Agatha Christie and Fyodor. That early on, I was like, we're not going to see Fyodor proper until like volumes 9 and 10. So that was and we barely even see Agatha Christie at this point. So it was a really early reveal that the mangaka's like, I've got stuff planned out. Just hold on. Let me get there. But yeah, so that was really cool to see that in volume 3. And I love Fitzgerald. So I love seeing him in the manga as well. I think I like anime Fitzgerald though more than manga Fitzgerald. He's just his voice actor makes him just so bombastic and dramatic, right? So I didn't have any notes on volume 4, but volume 5, I'm gonna show y'all the image because WTF, in volume 5, it's around the time that season 2 is starting, and we have 3 companies conflict, which is where Margaret Mitchell and Hawthorne show up off of Fitzgerald's boat, and they're facing Akutagawa. And previously, at the end of season 1, we saw that Mori-san showed up with the assassinated guild member, the guys that they all surrounded and assassinated. And that's the last time we see him in the anime. In the manga, when Margaret and Hawthorne are trying to escape Akutagawa, right before they're confronted by him, they go down a dark alleyway, and the assassin shows up, but he's a corpse that's been stuffed with lemon bombs from Motojiro. Like we see earlier on in the volume, Motojiro is just like, hey, I got all these lemon bombs like you wanted, boss. And that's all we get. We don't know where it's going. No, they took the corpse of the guild member, the body of the guild member, like hollowed his eyes out and stuffed him full of lemon bombs to use against Margaret and Hawthorne. The fudge. And I'll show you a picture of it. It's freaking disturbing. I was reading the manga going, what the hell? I was like, okay. That is the one thing. Like, the mangaka is not afraid to be grisly or creepy. And that is one thing. There's like definitely a horror vibe with this anime. Not a lot. Not as much as other anime, but still it's there, right? But yeah, I was just like, they made him into a human bomb. I was like, ah. And Motojiro, for having such a very creepy ability, is not really that threatening. I never think that Motojiro is that threatening. He just has kind of like a mad scientist vibe that goes against Yasano. But God, that was disturbing. I'm glad they didn't show us that in the anime, because I think it would have been too much. I think the censors were like, no, we can't get away with that. No, not for such a random moment that you could really easily cut, and it doesn't serve too much extra purpose, right? So then from there, though, there are some significant notes I made that kind of concern, especially volumes 6 and 7, and then into volumes 10 on. So with volume 6, right before, it's around the time that Q shows up, after they face Steinbeck and Lovecraft. It's right about the time Q shows up at the train station. Before Gin and Higuchi confront Dazai, there's a random dog there that Dazai and Atsushi just kind of hang out with. And Dazai leaves the dog with Atsushi to go use the bathroom. So that was interesting. We get a little bit about Steinbeck. We get that his siblings are Winfield, Rose, and Ruthie, who are all characters from the Grapes of Wrath. So I thought that was fun. I liked that. And then at the very end of volume 6, there's a short story. It's very bizarre, right? There's an actual short story, like actual text by the mangaka, that is at the very end of volume 6. And it's called A Heartless Dog. And it's mainly at Akutagawa backstory. And I'm really sad that it's not animated, because I really want it to be animated. It kind of is animated. There's a little bit of it, but I wish the whole thing had really been animated to like the extent it is in the little light novel section. I wish it had been, because it focuses on Octagawa growing up as an orphan, and he's been called like a silent rabid dog. And they establish like what his ability is, how people think, oh, you can just manipulate clothing. And he's like, yes, I kind of am like Best Jeanist, I know. But there's more to it than that. And it talks about how he lived growing up with these 8 companions, and the Port Mafia ends up killing all of them. And then Dazai meets up with them and gives Octagawa a reason to live. And it's kind of curious because it reminded me, Octagawa's companions dying reminded me of Chuya meeting up with Dazai. But the thing of it is, that's fascinating about all of this is that when Dazai meets up with Octagawa, it's still on the tails of around the time he's still working with the Port Mafia. Oda's still around, right? So Dazai is still killing people, not thinking anything of it, right? He's very similar to how Octagawa is at the start of him being the Port Mafia. And so by the time Dazai gets to recruiting Chuya, though, he's already lost Oda. He's learned the value of life and isn't directly trying to kill everybody anymore. He's been chiding Octagawa about it because he's realized kind of the errors of his ways. And I don't think he kills Chuya's friends. I think he lets them go. So that's interesting. It's kind of like, it's almost like a generational shift, right? Only it's within the same generation. But it's like, I learned this from this companion. Now I'm going to teach it to this new companion. And it's going to change a little bit each time. And then you have Octagawa learning from Atsushi that he shouldn't be killing people, which he learned from Dazai. So it's like everything is just passed down from person to person. It's really good. But he asks Dazai why he should live. And Dazai's like, we'll join the Port Mafia and we'll give you a reason. And then he like just howls in anger and all that. And it's really good. It's good writing. Good stuff. So I really like Volume 6. It's great. Volume 7, Atsushi. Volume 7 is interesting and important because it kind of prefaces, before Volume 10 happens, the stuff with the Headmaster. It kind of it shows Atsushi having more visions from his former Headmaster throughout, and showing what he's gone through, giving more backstory. And interestingly enough, when Twain shoots at him, when he like jumps off the Moby Dick after he's told Lucy he's gonna go save the city, he like jumps off, and what's great is that he like runs into a baby. Why? I don't know. He runs into a baby, and Twain is like firing at him, and he saves the baby, and he hands him over to a member of the Black Lizard. And I'm trying to think what the hell what his name is. It's not Chuya. I think it's Tachihara. He's the one that I can never ever remember. But he gives him over to Tachihara and says, here, take care of this baby. And Tachihara's like, why? It's just great. I like it. So then Volume 10. Volume 8 and 9 pretty much stick to the ending of Season 2. It's great. And then Volume 10 starts. There's no Chuya and Dazai backstory. Gotta read the light novel for that. We just cut straight into the story of the Headmaster. What's interesting is that episodes 4 and 5 are switched in the anime from how they happen in the manga. And I think I understand why they do that, because you have the first 3 episodes be Dazai and Chuya's backstory and their whole arc. Starting out, following that up with Atsushi's deal with the Headmaster would seem kind of clunky, whereas you could start with the whole story with Ace and Fyodor and set Fyodor up as the villain. That makes more sense anime-wise. So I get why they did that. They wanted to jump right from Chuya and Dazai's story to setting up Fyodor as the antagonist of the season, and then we could go into the whole thing with Atsushi. It still makes it clunky, but I think it would have been either way. So I get why they switched the contents. But yeah, we get more information on the Headmaster and find out that the Headmaster, I wish they'd had this in the anime episode, but we find out he went through all these horrible situations, lost his comrades, and was giving Atsushi not injections of drugs, but nutrients to live. And he was trying to make him stronger. Now, still problematic. I'm not defending the Headmaster because I still think his methods are bad. And I don't like that he was making Atsushi suffer. And it's a very flawed way to try and motivate somebody to being stronger. But what I do like is it showing, again, that theme of gray morality, the idea that the headmaster wasn't completely evil. He wasn't completely evil. There was some gray area there. And that's why Atsushi kind of mourns him in his own way, because he's like, he wasn't the evil end-all be-all that I thought he was. He was just a very troubled, flawed individual that was maybe not passing down the correct lessons in the best way. And that kind of sucks, right? It sucks just as much. And that whole episode, the chapters in the manga detailing it, oh, they're so sad. There's like a whole panel of Atsushi just like holding his head in his hands, crying at the end of it. It's just, And when Dazai tells him like, you know, when your father dies, you cry, it almost made me feel like Dazai was referring kind of Oda as a fatherly figure, even though I can totally ship Oda and Dazai to the ends of the earth. It almost seemed like Oda was kind of, in some ways, a fatherly figure. And then when he died, like, Dazai cried over him. We don't get to see that, but, you know. So yeah, Kunikita's OVA, the chapters at the OVA at the end of season 2 with Kunikita, those chapters are actually right after the Headmaster story. Again, I see why they took those out and made them their own OVA, their own thing. They don't really connect to the story. I feel like the mangaka was just like, I have this story I want to tell. Now's the time, so I'm going to tell it. So that is one thing with this manga, that the mangaka does not feel as if, they kind of are like, they remind me a lot of Horikoshi in some ways, because Horikoshi, who does My Hero Academia, he doesn't really write for anime. He just does his own arcs, and the anime has to figure out how to make it work. I think this is a more extreme example of that, where the mangaka's like, these are the stories I want to tell. I'm going to tell them. I'll tell them however I want to, in what order I want to, and y'all just deal with it. That's pretty much it, right? Because then in volume 11, we have the whole thing with Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's Rising, which I love that episode. We show him coming back with Louisa. In volume 11, they actually show us Steinbeck as the interim director of the guild in Fitzgerald's place, which is fun. And then I will say this, Fyodor, throughout this entire manga, he's hot. them shots during Cannibalism arc where he's in these like knee-high boots playing that cello. I was like, oh. I see where we're going with this mangaka. Like, he kind of looks more ratty in the anime, and I guess the Bones was just like, we gotta make him look evil, darn it. He looks really hot in the manga, and he looks a lot like Dazai too, except Dazai has like the pitch black hair, and there's just like solid, we just colored it in with an ink pen, and then Fyodor has like the highlights or the lighting on his hair, right? But yeah, the cannibalism arc starts in volume 12. Volume 12 and 13 are so good. Volume 12, the cannibalism arc, so good. I love volume 12. It's probably one of my favorites out of the whole thing. I really loved volume 12 a lot. The drawing, I took so many screenshots that I'll probably be sharing in the Discord and on Twitter, but they're so good. And I took a lot of notes with volume 13 too. Because I feel like they had to end volume 13. I didn't read all of it because we started into something with Rampo, and I was like, nope, that might be season 4. I'm going to stop right here. Not going to read anymore. But volume 13 does detail the end of season 3. Season 3's finale, I like it a lot. It's a little clunky, but I like it. It's fine. It's just not my favorite. And I can see why, because the manga keeps going, and the anime studio was like, no, we have 12 episodes. This is where we're going to stop. So they take a little bit of liberties. During the battle with Ivan, Octagawa and Atsushi get stuck in this quicksand. And Octagawa asks why Atsushi fights. He's like, I asked you before when they found Pushkin. They're like, okay, why do you fight? And Atsushi hadn't answered him. And he says that the mentor, even though he's died, is still in his head. And he can't get him out. So he figures if he does good little by little, he can finally put the mentor to rest. And all of his doubts, put them all to rest. And Octagawa is like, he's like, your mentor's a lot harder to appease than mine. It's like, yes. But Octagawa in that moment reveals his plan to have Atsushi wear Rashomon and like combine their abilities together. And it's a very interesting kind of bondage moment where he has like all Rashomon wrapped around Atsushi. I'm like, what we doing, mangaka? I'm imagining some of the manga readers were like, and fanfic time. But yeah. in volume 13, Fjordor, also whenever Dazai and Fitzgerald discover him, it's outside in a cafe, not inside, which I think the inside cafe works better in the anime because if he had been outside the whole time, the sunlight and the lighting would have gave it away that it wasn't the same spot as the warehouse where Octagawa and them thought he was. But in the manga, it's black and white, so you kind of get fooled really easily until you realize he's outside. The manga reveal of him being outside is brilliant. It's really, really well done. Really well handled. But yeah, in the manga, volume 13, Fjordor kills a guard and he's led away by Ango, and Fitzgerald asks Dazai if he knows his ability, and Dazai says, I do not. So I was like, okay. I had forgotten if Dazai had commented on that or not, but he does not remember the ability. It's like, okay, or know what it is. And then the whole thing with Octagawa, it didn't hit me, and maybe it did during the reaction and I just forgot, but it didn't hit me that Octagawa says that for him to move on, he's got to battle Atsushi in 6 months. For whatever reason, it's 6 months. And wants him to challenge him and he wants to kill him. And Atsushi's like, fine, I'll challenge you in 6 months, but in the meantime, only if you don't kill anybody. And he tells him that Dazai doesn't want him. He's like, Dazai's been trying to tell you that killing's not everything, so I want you to stop for 6 months, and if you can do that, I'll challenge you. And there's a moment at the very end of the chapter where season 3 would let off at, because in the anime, Dazai's like, to the stray dogs, and him and Atsushi like tip glasses and tink them, and it's a really cute little end scene that connects back to Dark Era. I love the ending of that episode, but I really love the ending of the chapter because Dazai, he's sitting there, they don't have the champagne glasses, he's just sitting there and he kind of smiles, and he's like, oh, a mafia member that doesn't kill, huh? And then you kind of see like the shadow of Oda, but if you've not read the Dark Era light novel or watched the anime, you have no clue who he is. So it's so mysterious, but it's the idea that Octagawa could come to understand the value of life and take a page from Oda, and Dazai's elated by that I'm like, so great, it's wonderful. But yeah, I couldn't finish volume 13 because the chapters kept going, so I'm gonna have to put that on hiatus and pick up volume 13 once season 4 is over, which is fine. So before I do the top tier for my top episode list, I do want to just rank the seasons real quick. It goes 2, 3, 1. 3 and 1 are close. Season 2 is by far the best to me. Dark Era, mwah, perfection. Everything with the guild, the entire guild arc for the rest of season 2 is the most well-structured, put together, streamlined arc. It works really well. It's just pretty, in the words of Oda, it's flawless. Season 1 is good. There are episodes of season 1 that I like more than episodes of season 3, but then there's episodes of season 3 I like way more than season 1. I think that for me, when I watch a series, things accumulating make me like them more. So like, I'll take Free, for example. There's anime Free. It has 3 seasons. Season 1 is a solid season. Solid season. It's my least favorite. And season 3 can be a hot mess at times, but the highs are high and the lows are like, we're good. So that's kind of how I feel about season 3 of Bungo Stray Dogs. The highs are high and the lows are like, we're fine. We've made it this far, right? So I do like that. I think I kind of have the same view with Free as I do with Bungo Stray Dogs. Sadly, we don't get a season 4 of Free, but I'm not going to complain about Bungo getting it too, right? But so far we've had 36 episodes and an OVA of this series, and I didn't want to rank all 36 episodes because it was too hard. I'm going to say right now, as I give you my top 20 list for the anime, I am the worst with ranking because I will give you all my honest opinions, and then 5 minutes later, after it's all published and said and done, I'll be like, well, I regret that decision. Or I've made a huge mistake. I'll be like, dang it, I just want to, can we talk about this? That's kind of where I end up being at. But so I decided to do the top 20 episodes. Honestly, aside from the top 3, I don't think I can change, right? I don't think I can change the top 3. The top 3 are my favorites, and I don't think I can change them. The top the 4 and 5 one, I could maybe all switch out with something else. The top 3, I think, are static for me. They're not going anywhere. But the others, I think, if you wanted to argue that you wanted to switch some things around, as I was making this list, I was moving things all around all over the place. So we'll just go 5 at a time, talk them through. So 20 through 15. And again, these bottom 5 of my top 20, I think I could move around in any way, shape, or form, and I'd be happy. So in no particular order, numbers 20 through 15, these 5 are at my bottom of my top 20. Season 3, episode 1, Dazai Chuya, 15 years old. It's flashback time, which I'm all about. I like that we go into the background, into the past with Chuya and Dazai. It feels just the slightest bit staler since we've had Dark Era start out season 2. I could see somebody arguing it feels more of the same, even though it's nothing like Dark Era. So I'm glad that that's the case. I think that if it had been similar to Dark Era, it wouldn't have made my top 20. But since the story is unique and it's Chuya and Dazai, then it cracks it into the 20th spot. Number 19, I do legit stand by this decision. Season 1, episode 3, Yokohama's Gangster's Paradise. Meeting Akutagawa, that's such a fun episode. Seeing Light Snow in action, seeing Higuchi for the first time, the reveal, seeing Dazai in the manga where he stands between Akutagawa and Atsushi. That's such a great episode. I could have moved it higher, but there's so many other good ones that I'm like, I probably could have switched this with my number 17 if I'm being honest, but I put it number 19 here, but I'm having instant regrets. Same with, the only reason this is number 18 is because the other episodes are a lot higher on the list. Number 18 is season 2, episode 1, The Dark Age, meeting Oda and Engo. That episode is amazing, but I felt greedy putting all of the Dark Era on this list for the top 20. So I thought I'd throw the other episodes a bone and put episode 1 of season 2 down here towards the bottom. I'm like, I'll throw y'all a bone, put this one down here. I really love this episode. Oda and Engo are amazing, but just to be fair to the other episodes and the other arcs, we'll put it down here towards the bottom. And then number 17, I actually could switch this with number 19. Is Slap the Stick and Addict from episode 5. I love Kaitao. I love it. I love him. He's so weird with his futon. And then Gin's identity being revealed. I love that we get Gin's identity. I'm like, she's Akutagawa's sixth sister. They're the most fashionable in all of Yokohama. Are we surprised? That episode was a lot of fun. And seeing Higuchi like team up with Kunakita and forming a crack ship with him, that was exciting. And it's just like a nice comedy, lighthearted. It doesn't advance the plot really in any way except introducing Kaido, who will be instrumental later on. But I just love that episode a lot. But if I had to switch it with number 19, I probably would, right? Number 16 is season 2, episode 10, Poe versus Rampo and the Moby Dick. I had to put this one on here because I love Poe and Rampo's dynamic so much. And Carl, I love them so much. And that whole... Rampo, reading the manga, he grew on me so much because the way the mangaka draws his expressions, they're so good. Like when the president has the whole cannibalism curse and Rampo is like sitting at the bed like praying over him or like just like hovering over him, my heart. When Poe comes in at the end of season 2 with Carl to give Rampo the things, my heart. I love them so much. And seeing Yasano connect with Rampo and their dynamic and their growth as comrades and friends, it was just made my heart grow 3 sizes. And then, yeah, there's the Moby Dick there too. But I really like that episode a lot. Number 15 is season 2, episode 8, Though the Mind May Be Wrong. I could have moved this one up higher too, but again, there's a lot of really good episodes in this series. But yeah, I kept it there at number 15. Atsushi and Lucy, their whole conversation, Lucy being like, come back and save me, and then Atsushi forgets to. That was great. But yeah, Dazai coming down, saving him, and then both deciding that we got to get the Port Mafia involved. Such a good episode. Number 14 is season 1, episode 10, Rashomon and the Tiger. Shonen schlock at its finest. It's just so good. seeing Atsushi and Akutagawa have their first major battle against each other. We meet Chuya. He comes into the fold, and him and Dazai's animosity is established. It's just, you have your Sokuku and your Shin Sokuku, like, right next to each other, and these two ships just forming in the waters. It's glorious. Number 13 is season 3, episode 11, Cannibalism, part 3. Again, the only reason this one is down lower is because I may have another cannibalism episode higher up. So I didn't want to feel bad putting them so close to the top. But yeah, Dazai getting Atsushi and Akutagawa together. For the record, those moments in the manga are freaking hilarious because Atsushi's like, Dazai, like, are you sure we should work with Akutagawa? And Akutagawa is so hyper-focused on praise me senpai with Dazai that Atsushi's just like, what? It's great. It is a great episode altogether. Number 12 is season 3, episode 12, Echo. Fyodor gets matched by Dazai. That honestly put this one as high up as it is. I'm not crazy about, and ignore my dogs, I'm not crazy about the Ivan fight. I feel like Ivan wasn't ever an antagonist that I was like, oh, he's really threatening. He's kind of weird. He has like the Lovecraft hair, but he's just kind of messed up like Hawthorne was from Fyodor, from getting messed with his brain. I wasn't ever really a fan of Ivan as an antagonist, and their fight is okay. It's fine. But this got shot up as high as it does because the whole reveal of Dazai being there at the cafe, catching Fyodor, him and Fyodor's little back and forth, Fitzgerald showing up, Dazai getting Fitzgerald in his pocket. I was like, everything clicked in those last 5 minutes so well. And I was like, awesome. Way to go. And there's this big, beautiful rainbow at the end for Akutagawa and Atsushi. I haven't forgot about that rainbow. It's a good episode. But yeah, that final twist with Fyodor and Dazai, mwah, brilliant. But episode 11, season 2, episode 7, Will of Tycoon. Q is such a fascinating character. And I love the idea that there's a character that Dazai is freaked out by. Like, Dazai doesn't like Fyodor. He's kind of freaked out by Fyodor. But Q gets under Dazai's skin as well. And then the whole episode being like Steinbeck and Lovecraft versus Atsushi and Kunikita. That whole dynamic. I love Steinbeck and Lovecraft's dynamic. That episode was just, it's a mesh of really good elements that I think the ones higher up on this list also do a really good job of as well. Season 1, episode 12, Born Back Ceaselessly into the Past, is number 10. It could have been higher, but damn it, these episodes are really good. I love that season 1 finale where we learn about Mori, the reveal with him, Lucy's introduction. It's only number 10 because the other episodes I like more. It's a fantastic episode. Episode 12, I was like, okay, Bungo Stray Dogs. All right. I'm in. I was in before, but I was like hardcore, like I was so ready to dive into season 2 after that episode concluding season 1. It was a lot of fun. So now we're in the top 10. Like I said, I didn't want to put them all up front. So number 9 is season 3, episode 9, Cannibalism, part 1. I finished reading the manga right before recording this, and I honestly could have moved this one up higher based on, I had forgot how much Kunikita's heartbreak hurts. That kid dying, Kunikita. I put my notes here. Kunikita can't catch a break. Twists. That's all I put for my notes on this episode. Because it's really that. It's just twist after twist. And just setting the stage for this battle. And Kunikita's just him being broken. He's the Harvey Dent. He was the White Knight that Fyodor, the Joker, strove to crack first. And it's such a crazy episode. I love it. So number 8 is season 3, episode 3, Only a Diamond Can Polish a Diamond. It's the conclusion of Chuya's backstory with Rando. I only put it as low as it is because we already had another one that was, earlier on from that opening with Dazai and Chuya being 15. But Chuya and Dazai reaching together to hold hands to beat Rando. What else do you want? My shipper heart is really excited for season 4, if you couldn't tell. So number 7 is season 3, episode 4, My Ill Deeds Are the Work of God. Ace's character, played by Erwin Smith's VA. Mwah. And then Fyodor's appearance. That Fyodor coming in and just setting the stage for how terrifying he is as an antagonist. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Like, Rando was a fun antagonist prior, and you're kind of sad to see him die, but you're like, Fyodor comes in the scene in the next episode, and you're like, holy crap, now what? And so I loved his confrontation with Ace. The card game still gives me chills. Like, the moment he was like predicting every card movement, that still gives me chills. I was like, oh my gosh, that just, such good storytelling in that moment, right? Number 6 is the only one left from season 1. It's my favorite episode of season 1. Born Back Ceaselessly into the Past is my second favorite. But upon rewatching, Love for the Disease Called Ideals, episode 7 of season 1, is my favorite episode. I love that episode. Dazai, Kunikita, Kokuzo, that whole thing between them. The confrontation at the end where Kunikita like challenges Dazai, and Dazai's like, here's how it's going to go down. It's like there's no happy ending, and it just leaves you feeling just like this sense of dread, right? But it's so good. Honestly, 6 and 7 together are great episodes from the light novel, and the light novel made me appreciate them even more. Kunikita, he's not my favorite character, but he's a character that's just solid. That's the thing about characters that Hosoya plays. Hosoya, the voice actor, he always plays a character. He may not be your favorite in that show, but you love him as that character, right? It's just how something about him as a voice actor. I could name you like 5 or 6 different characters he's played. They're not my favorite in those series, but they're just so good that I'm like, Soya, I love your voice. So it's just a really good episode. And so that leads us into the top 5. Number 5 is season 2, episode 12, If I May Shed Away My Burden Now. Atsushi and Octagawa versus Fitzgerald, and Dazai at the end where he's like, we saved our city. I was like, so good. It's so good. And then, which I guess the save the city with the champagne glasses is at the very, very end where they have the boat thing from Fitzgerald. But when Kyoko's saved and the Moby Dick like goes back with Melville and he like saunters away with it, Lovecraft goes back into the sea. It's a great season finale. The season finales, Echo is probably the weakest season finale, but this one, it was just so good. And then Fitzgerald just falling off and Octagawa and Atsushi working together. It's a great, solid episode. Solid episode. It's a nice contrast to Rashomon and the Tiger. We like parallel it and see how they've changed and developed over the course of a season. Good stuff. But number 4 should surprise no one. As much as I love Fitzgerald, he's my type. He's a blonde with blue eyes and a suit. Fitzgerald's Rising, season 3, episode 7 is my number 4. I love Fitzgerald getting his groove back. Louisa, she like rose to claim my heart in that episode. I wanted to ship her and Fitzgerald so bad after that episode. It's so good. And I like that the mangaka takes the time. Because in the manga, it's pretty much beat for beat the same as the episode. Except we get to see Steinbeck actually in his role as the interim guild leader. But Fitzgerald, he's such a character that I like the mangaka took their time to give us content with him, to give us his own little side arc and side story. And you find out at first when Fitzgerald Rising is happening, you think it's like a filler episode. You're like, well, what was the point of that? But then you find out by the end of the season that you needed to have that episode showing Fitzgerald getting his groove back, getting back in shape, because otherwise it won't make sense for him to be with Dazai at the very end of the season. So, it's just because they made their headquarters right next to the Port Mafias. So, it all happens for a reason. That is one thing about this series. Stuff may seem random and out of place at the time, but it will all come full circle, and the mangaka will have had a reason that they did it. And then you're like, oh, okay. Gotcha. So that leaves my top 3. You could alter the others in the top 20 and shuffle them around however you want to. But for me, you can't move the top 3 spots for me. They're pretty set in stone. Honorable mention goes to season 2, episode 2. That one's probably the weakest of the 4 Dark Era episodes. It's my least favorite. it's just a transitional episode, so it's not on this list. I didn't want to put all 4 Dark Era episodes on this list. I was like, no, there's too many good other episodes. But number 3 is Double Black. Double 3 is Double Black. I freaking love that episode. Chuya and Dazai taking on Lovecraft and Steinbeck. And that's the second half of the episode. The first half is Mori and Fukuzawa getting at each other and then having, their weapons at each other's throats and doing the whole, like, I hear you still have a fetish with young girls. I still hear you talk to cats. And so that's like the first part, and it's so good. And then you transition to Chuya and Dazai's bantering, and then you transition to Lovecraft fighting them, and then Chuya revealing the tainted sorrow and the full extent of his ability, Dazai being the only one that can stop him from killing himself, the trust they have to have in each other, the ship being developed. It's like, what else do you want? And it could be number 1. I'd say these top 3, if you wanted to make this episode, either has to be number 3 or number 1. It cannot be number 2 because you can't separate my number 2 and my number 1. It either had to go one of 2 ways. Either Double Black has to be the best episode for me, or it had to be the 3rd, because I can't split up episodes, my number 2 and my number 1 spot. And I just put it in 3rd because I love the Dark Era so much. Number 2 is A Room Where We Can Someday See the Ocean. And the angst, it could be number 1. I could have flip-flopped these around. It could have been number 1. That episode, not only giving us so much with Oda, with the kids, with the orphanage, with setting up Geed, and the whole thing with Mimic, setting up him and Dazai's relationship, but from the very end of the episode where Oda chases after the bus and it blows up and his voice actor screaming, I don't think there's been an episode in a long time that I've felt that powerfully for, except for episode 4, which is number 1, which is roll credits, Bungo Stray Dogs. And the end of the Dark Era arc, that whole opening scene with him gearing up to go kill Geed, I sobbed during the live action play of it, and my heart just broke watching it in the anime. And then everything leading up to it. I put episode 4 as my number 1, Bungo Stray Dogs, not only because of that opening with Oda, but the entire conversation with Mori and Dazai, where Mori reveals that it was him behind everything. He set up Oda to die as the sacrifice, Dazai leaving the agency, him realizing he didn't want to be there anymore, the whole thing with Dazai like holding Oda in his arms as he died, and Oda telling him to be good and just try to be good no matter what, and then him leaving the Port Mafia and joining the agency, changing his look. Like, it's all just, it's so good. I feel like episodes 3 and 4 go together so well. And the whole Natsumi thing being introduced, it's just, those are my favorite episodes. There are some that I had to leave off this list, and I was like, because there's so many good episodes in Bungo Stray Dogs. You could argue so many different ways. I'm sure I left off somebody's favorite episode that they're like, you didn't include this in the top 20? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Those are just ones that if I was thinking going into this, if I could watch an episode over again, which episodes would I watch over again? And those were the 20 that I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And Dark Era, I would rewatch any day. Like, just pop that in. Let me get emotional. Let's do this. Why not, right? So yeah. So those are my episodes. So I wanted to do a character tier. And I'm going to I had to put up a character sheet here. I'm going to put it over here because I just have a feeling that I'm going to forget somebody and then I'm going to be really mad. So I'm going to put this over to the side. If I forget somebody, I'm going to be able to have a chart to know who is who, right? We're going to put up this character tier and start it here in 3, 2, 1. All right. So this is the best character tier that I could find that did not have characters from the manga, because I didn't want to get into a character tier that had manga characters we've not been introduced yet. So these are just the ones from the anime that I know of. Obviously, I think that it goes without question that Odasaku is a stan character. We have characters that are I'm going to put ride or die. They're the ones that are like, go for it, like you would do anything for. Orange is gonna be love, characters that I love. These are characters that I'm okay with. Put neutral would probably be the better term. I'm gonna put here characters that I'm like, who are you? I don't know you character. Characters that I'm meh about, and then characters that are you. There we go. That works. Cool. So that's kind of where I'm at. Neutral and meh are kind of it. Characters that I did not care. Or I'm going to put wouldn't miss. Wouldn't miss ya. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, no, Oda, best character. Love him to pieces. Cannot get over him. Let's go ahead and see somebody that we're like, kind of like, who are you? This one. Where are they from? Were they from Dead Apple? Are they from Dead Apple? I feel like they're from Dead Apple. Where is that character from that has the silvery hair? Who be they? I feel like I should know who their character is, and I feel bad that I don't. Sad days. Are they? I don't know who they are. That's why I'm like, who are they? And somebody in the comments is going to be like, you don't remember this character? I feel like they're from Dead Apple, but I don't remember them. That same thing goes to the villain of Dead Apple. Wouldn't miss ya. No, Dead Apple was fun. I liked a lot of elements of Dead Apple. A lot. But the antagonist, I was like, just kind of meh about. Wouldn't miss him, right? I love Kunikita. We're going to put him up in the love category. He's not my ride or die. Like I said, he's not like my top character, but I love Kunikita a lot. And anytime we have him in the story, he's such like a straight-laced everyman character that when you see like a very normal, even keel character kind of like go through the ringer, I always find it interesting because it's like, well, what's going to happen with him, right? And we should go ahead and put up in love Carl. Freaking love that raccoon. There are some panels in the volume where Carl steals the book that has Chuya and Rampo in it, and the mangaka put down, Carl is so important to the plot, he's getting 4 panels to himself. It was great. It was great. I feel like characters I'm neutral with. Is there a character I'm really neutral with? I feel like Geed I'm neutral with. He's okay. I thought Geed was a pretty nice antagonist. He was interesting. He was a good matchup for Oda. Oda is a very solemn, stoic character, and Geed is kind of a stoic villain. So they kind of matched up evenly. They're fine. The one guy that Fitzgerald, who are you? The one guy that Fitzgerald, I know who he is. He's the guy that Fitzgerald kind of cons into getting the apartment and helping him out. Who are you? Don't care about you. Not needed. We're going to stan Fitzgerald. For sure. I love Fitzgerald so much. He's just such a sleazy character, but he's so damn endearing. He's damn charming. He's just like, he's Kaiba off Yu-Gi-Oh! He's like, screw the rules, I have money. And it's just so damn endearing. I feel like he has Kaiba energy, for sure. And I'm all about it. He gets his own episode. How can we not love him, right? I guess putting it up there, I would say, where's Dazai at? Dazai... I love Dazai. I'll be honest. I would have had Dazai before I read the manga and the light novels. I might have had Dazai in the love category just from the anime. I love Dazai's character a lot, but going back and rereading the manga and seeing like little extra moments and expressions the mangaka gives him, seeing some of the moments he has in the light novels made me really appreciate his character more. And so I was like, nah, he's up there. He's my ride or die character. This guy. He's the one that was with Ace. I'm gonna put him neutral. I liked his character a lot. I felt bad for his character because he clearly had like all these ambitions. He wanted to be like a mob boss and grow up, and then Fjordor was like, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. The old mafia boss that was before Mori. Nah, get him out of here. He's gross. I don't like his character at all. It gets a little bit harder with some of the ones of the guild, if I'm being honest. Let me find some other ones on here. Oh, Chuya's ride or die, for sure. I love Chuya Nakahara. He's great. And Chuya and Dazai have to be next to one another. Of course they do, right? I can't put Fitzgerald over Oda, so he's got to stay there. But not Chuya, yeah. Chuya and Dazai, they are definitely one of the top characters. For sure. I would say wouldn't miss ya. Pushkin, eh. He's just like, don't care about him that much. He's okay. I love Lovecraft. Lovecraft is great. He's a great character. The fact that he doesn't have an ability, he's literally a supernatural being. There's no other explanation. He's just like Cthulhu, and we just have to, as the audience, accept that Cthulhu exists in this world. His name is Lovecraft, and that's all we need to know. Okay. I feel like it's a precursor. Knowing that Lovecraft is not of this world and is not human Bungo Stray Dogs incorporates these little moments of spirituality slowly into the story. They kind of just like seep in like a drizzle. And so at that moment, when you realize Lovecraft isn't human, you're like, well, could there be other characters that aren't human? And then you get Chuya's ability, and it's like, well, there's like apparently deities that can inhabit people, so I guess so. So that's interesting to me. But I do love Lovecraft's character a lot. He just wants a nap. Just wants a nap. Margaret Mitchell, I wouldn't miss her. She's meh. She's just kind of eh. I don't really care for her. I was gonna put Hawthorne there as well, but you know what? Hawthorne's gonna go into neutral because he at least stood up for Margaret and like left Fitzgerald and was like, screw you, I'm not gonna have you treat my friend this way and use me, only to be picked up and used by Fjordor. What can you do? But Margaret's character, I don't like Gone with the Wind at all. I think that the main Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, she's such a brat and I want to like slap her. So I'm like, screw you, girl. No. Melville. I actually feel pretty neutral about him. I would say that I love him, but I don't love him as much as these characters. But I liked his character. I guess we'll put here liked. And this is more like neutral. So yeah, I liked his character a lot. I loved when the little Moby Dick followed him at the end. That was cute. What I liked about his character was that he could see how the guild used to run and was kind of a representation of the old guard. And he wasn't pleased with where Fitzgerald had led it. So I thought that was always fascinating when he has that conversation with Ango and with Atsushi about it. That part was really cool. Also in liked, I would put Lucy. I like Lucy's character a lot. I feel like she kind of gets shoved to a corner sometimes. But in the third season, she kind of gets more precedent, which is fun. But I like her character a lot. She really wants to be with Atsushi, and girl, it ain't happening. Nope. You just got friend zoned, girl, by Shin Sokoku. So, yeah, but I do like her character a lot. She grew on me as the series went on. And rereading the manga, I like her character a lot as well. Same with Kyoka. I don't love her character, which is... I hate to say that. I don't love her character. She's fine. She's like a little sister Atsushi. I like her character a lot. She's kind of got the... How to say this? She's got like the Mikasa syndrome and the Rei syndrome from Neon Genesis, where she's so like monotone and quiet. It's hard to dig at her character and really get down to it. I feel like it's less akin to Rei and more akin to Mikasa Ackerman. It's more like that. I just feel like I want to like her character more, but I feel like we need more with her. But then we've seen a lot with her, and so then I'm kind of conflicted, like, well, we've seen a lot with her character, but I still don't feel like it's enough. So she's gonna have to stick in the like category. But I do like Kyoka a lot. A lot. And if we're in there, we're going to put her in there as well. I like our beautiful Kyoyo. Have to love Kyoyo and her motherly affection toward Kyoka. Lucy looks more like her daughter than Kyoka does. But I like that she has this kind of maternal bond with Kyoka, weirdly enough, and she like wants to make sure that she's kept safe. That part's nice. I do love, though, Luisa. I do love her. She gets an arc and gets character development. And what I like about her character is that she seems quiet like Kyoka at first, but then she stands up for Fitzgerald. She like takes a stand against him and is like, no, you're going to get on your feet, sir. And like helps him up. Like Fitzgerald Rising made me love her character. And her ability is great. I think it's something, if I had an ability, that's probably what it would be, because I would want all the time in the world to stay in a room and write for ages and no time passes. Would want to do that. I could do all these reactions in a day and be set for a year. It would be an awesome ability. So I do love Luisa a lot. Same with Higuchi. I love Higuchi. Her notice me senpai and like not yandere, but kind of close to it attitude, where she would do anything for Akutagawa. Her and Lucy kind of suffer from the same problem. They both think that they're getting with their man. And it's like, girls, I hate to tell you, but no. But I do think we've gotten just a little bit more from Higuchi, especially in the first season, where they question like her role in the mafia, and she has the moment where she goes after Akutagawa to save him. I feel like that gave us more with her, that elevates her to the love category. You know what? We gotta stand with Akutagawa. I love Akutagawa. I love Akutagawa, and we've got to put Atsushi right beside him. We have to have the pairs, right? We've got to put the pairs right beside them. Because, I mean, I love Atsushi. I feel like a lot of people I feel like a lot of people would razz on Atsushi or Akutagawa for various reasons because of how their character are. Because Akutagawa can be an off-putting character. He's not a character that I feel like you're supposed to get the warm fuzzies around. But I love a tsundere that you know has a good heart that's just hiding it. And Akutagawa, I'm like, oh, come on, honey. You're not going to kill somebody for 6 months. Let the softness come out. Let's do this. Like, I love Akutagawa's character. He's my type. And then Atsushi, he's just so damn relatable. The more you get to know him in the series and the more you follow him, he's got to get slapped a few times by Dazai, but it's fine. You feel so sympathetic towards him as a character, and he does grow and change as the series goes on, as he learns things. He's very Shinji-like, honestly, from Neon Genesis, and I love Shinji a lot. So going back and rereading the manga gave me a better appreciation for his character. I do like Ace. Ace is a good character. I would move him up to love, but we only see him for one episode. I wish we had more with Ace. He has the matching bangs with Koyo. I wish we had more of him because he was a really good antagonist. He was slimy and smarmy, and he gets his just desserts from Fjordor. It's a great time. I like his character a lot. The girl with the cat, I can't say I wouldn't miss her, but she's just kind of like, she's just there for moral support to the sister. Oh my god, and my mind is gonna go blank. She's just there for Naomi's like support system, and she like is Natsumi's keeper, so she's fine. I kind of feel the same way towards Naomi. She's okay. I'm not gonna say I guess, yeah, I'm gonna put her in wouldn't miss her. I just never, Naomi's whole fetish with her brother always struck me as weird. I just could never really get on board with it with Tanizaki. I just could never get on board with it. And I was like, and she's just really like over the top with it. She's fine, but her and the other girl, I'm kind of like, yeah, they're okay. They're fine. I do like Tanizaki though. I would put him in liked. I do like his character a lot. The light snow ability is really cool, and he has a lot of good moments. But man, in the manga, whenever you like threaten his sister, the mangaka goes to painstaking expenses to make you really see how mad he is. But he's a good character. They're probably of the agency. They're probably at the bottom for me, so it's fine. And I like Katai. He's so weird, but I like him. I like his damn ability in that episode with Geen. And he's just like confesses his love. He's such a weirdo, but I do like his character a lot. And I like that he ends up actually playing a part in the series to come. He has a purpose, right? He ends up reflecting things with Natsumi later on. Speaking of which, I do like Natsumi. I would love Natsumi if we saw more of him. Maybe we will in the future, but I do like his character an awful lot. Motojiro, I put him on there. Again, same thing. If we had more Motojiro, the lemon bombs, he's hysterical. I love him just for being completely bonkers, but I feel like we don't have enough of him. I want more of him in season 4. Give Motojiro something to do. I don't like Ivan. Ew. I never liked Ivan. He was probably my least favorite antagonist in season 3. Maybe in the whole series. He's worse than the old boss. At least the old boss was kind of creepy. He just is bland. He's just like, He's like a dollop of, not even whipped cream. He's like Greek yogurt in the series, if I had to compare him to anything. Just not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. Who is this? I feel bad I don't know this blonde girl. Is she from Dead Apple 2? Am I just missing all the dead? Or is she one of the ones that works with Engo? Is she one of the ones that works with Engo? Either way, she's not important because we can't remember her. I don't remember her that well. No. Love Poe. I love Poe. Him and Carl. I'll put him next to Carl. I do love Poe a lot. He's just so... his personality is so bonkers and weird, but it's endearing. It's like, how could you not love him, right? And I guess we'll put Rompo up here. Rompo's not quite in my stan ride or die, but he's right up there. I got to put him and Poe together. Got to keep the couples together. And if I'm going to put Kunikita in love, I've got to put Rompo in love. But I'll be honest, Rompo is this close from bumping up to that top category, especially from the manga. Like, he just melted into my heart with his impassioned speech about how much he loves the director, Fukuzawa. Just sweet stuff. Like him a lot. I like Gin. Gin's up there and like. She's really fun. I like that she's Okutagawa's sister, that maybe Higuchi, if Okutagawa doesn't work out, you could always go after Gin. I don't think that anybody would complain. And along with that, I would put Hirotsu up here. I like Hirotsu a lot as well. He's a really good character. I feel for him sometimes because he has to deal with Dazai's antics and the antics of the Port Mafia. He's like the one confidant that everybody in the Port Mafia has, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll keep your secrets for you. I'll be your secret keeper. But I do like Hirotsu a lot. I think my favorite scene with him is probably Dazai and him in the art gallery at the end of season 2, right? Where they're talking about Fyodor and Oda. I think they're probably my favorites. And I guess it's at the end of season 3. Yeah, talking about... No, it's at the end of season 2. I'm getting my endings mixed up. It's at the end of season 2 where they talk about Dazai says that he was setting up Okutagawa and Atsushi working together. Because he thinks that they can do what they end up doing at the end of season 3. Keeping it all together. Are there any more U's? I don't think there are any more U's. Wouldn't miss ya. I'm going to put him in Who Are You because I had to look up his name. He's fine in the Black Lizard and the Port Mafia, but I had to look up his name a lot because I was like, who are you? And if I can't remember your name after I've watched 3 seasons of you, you go in the Who Are You category, right? I love Steinbeck. I'm going to put Steinbeck up there next to Lovecraft. Steinbeck's great. I love Steinbeck's character, not only for what we get in season 2 with him, but just the idea that he hates Fitzgerald, that he's open about it, that he has his own ambitions and motivations. He definitely becomes a dynamic character by the end of the season. And then when you know in season 3 that he's currently leading the guild, it's like, no, he put them plans into action and is doing the thing. And it's like, awesome. So I would put Twain down here under Wouldn't Miss Ya. Twain's fine. He has the Luke Skywalker vibe. But if I'm going to put... Here's the thing. If I'm going to put Naomi down here, we have a member, we have guild members down here, we have an agency member down here, we'll put them together, right? I feel like I like Twain's ability. Twain's ability is weird. I like the concept of it, but the little gnomes and fairies that help him, it's such a bizarre mechanic, even for the world of Bungo Stray Dogs. It just always has read weird to me, and I can't put my finger on it, but it just, something doesn't seem... It's similar to Elise, honestly. It's similar to Elise, just a smaller version of it, but it just doesn't seem as... It's just not... I'm not as fine with it. But he's fine. He's an okay character. He doesn't do much outside of the whole sharpshooting for those episodes he's in season 2. I like Kenji a lot. See, I even got his name wrong. Kenji's this one. I got your name wrong. Who are you? But yeah, Kenji, I like Kenji a lot. I feel like he reps the farmer group well. And just the fact him and Atsushi's adventure in season 1 was just absolutely comical. And you know what? I liked Rando, I liked him. I liked his character as an antagonist a lot. He was just kind of weird. But I wish we could have done more with him, but it's fine. His ability was really cool. I liked it, but he looked like a prototype for Fyodor, honestly. I love Fyodor. And not love as in endearing, love as in I'm terrified of him. He is a really great villain. He is definitely one that can match up with Dazai, and I feel, we'll talk about predictions here in a little bit, I feel like he could match Dazai for wits, and I'm very excited to see him in season 4, but I love how sinister his character is. His character's so sinister, but yet very, like, almost not even elegant, but just kind of like, just sophisticated. It's weird. And the whole cello scene with Kunikita, at that point I was like, okay, you had my attention with him versus Ace, and then the moment he brought out that damn cello and started playing, he had my curiosity, and I was like, okay. Or you have my curiosity, now you have my attention. I was like, all right. I love Fyodor. His ability is so mysterious and deadly and crazy. He's just a great villain, and I'm excited to see more of him. Of the ones we have left, I think this is the girl that ends up in the OVA with Kunikita. She's fine, but I would miss her. I was like, you're good for that one OVA, bye. She's fine. I'm being so brutal with these characters. I feel like everybody's gonna hate me for putting Naomi there, but I'm sorry. Got off screen there. I don't know. Naomi's like my least favorite. I can't really explain why, except her whole fetish with her brother is weird. But I don't know. I just don't. She's fine. I don't want to put her in Who Are You, because I feel like that's almost as worse as Wouldn't Miss Ya. I feel like that one choice, everybody's going to be like, you put Naomi in that spot? I was like, I'm sorry. I just got to follow my heart. The director, he's okay, but I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't even remember his name. He's just fine. The episodes he's in, he's okay, but it's like, eh. Again, I almost feel like this category should move up from this one. That's what we're going to do. We're going to move that up. There we go. See, do you feel better now? Do y'all feel better? We're just moving this up to, like, Wouldn't Miss Ya. But who are you? I don't have any more ews on here, honestly. I like Q's character. I wish we had more Q. Q is a fascinating character that I feel we need more of. Their ability is insane. And the animosity that Dazai instantly had for Q made me intrigued. So if we could get more with Dazai, because there's so much backstory, right? There's so much backstory with Chuya and Dazai and Q. I want to know more. And I wish that we would get more with Q and Dazai and Chuya in the future. We probably won't, but it would be cool if we did. Elise. I like Elise. I know a lot of people will be like, you like Elise, but you don't like Naomi. And I was like, Elise, I always loved her because she gives Mori shit. She holds him to a standard. She is a part of Mori's soul, and she holds him like she's his Jiminy Cricket, right? She's his Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder being like, you suck. What I love about it is it's kind of, once you find out that she's his ability and that she's always been with him because she's a part of him, then all of the really self-loathing comments, you kind of just sit back and go, oh, crud. You think this about yourself, Mori. Like, he thinks so little of himself because she's constantly berating him, being like, you suck. You're a horrible person. And he's like, Elise-chan. Like, you know, he just thinks that badly of himself, that his own self, like, part of his subconscious, it's his ability that manifests itself, has to remind him. It's interesting. But, all right, so that leaves these four. I love Yasano. Girl, she not only has a badass ability, but her relationship, I'm gonna put her next to Rampo. I don't really ship Rampo with anybody, but if you had, I know a lot of people ship Kunikita and Yasano together. I guess I don't want to put them between those two. These five together are such a squad, right? I guess I'll move Kunikita here so he can be next to her, right? I feel like they're such a squad. But I love her character so much, and you could ship her with Kunikita. You could ship her with Rampo. You'd be good either way. She's a really, really good character. I love her ability. I like the character growth she has. I want to see more of her. But we've had enough that I do already like her a lot. And then Ongo. Oh, sweet Ongo. I do love Ongo. His character's great. I can't put him up there with Dazai and Oda. Unfortunately, I can't because his character is good. His character is so quiet and straight-laced. I want to see more of Ongo as well. He kind of just takes a backseat to Oda and Dazai throughout the rest of the series. Now, in Dark Era, he's like on equal playing field, but from that series on, he just kind of he gets tortured by Dazai a lot, to be honest. But I do love his character quite a bit. And then, look, Oda and Fitzgerald are outliers. They were always going to be my like number one, number twos from the get-go. But we have Sokoku. We have Shin Sokoku. We might as well put the OG couple right up here. Let's just do that. Mori so much as a pair. Mori I would have put up on Ride or Die anyway because his character is so much fun. He's a bad guy. He's my kind of bad guy. He's like a Sosuke Aizen bad guy. He's just hammy enough, but he has a serious, sinister side to him that when he gets serious, you're like, oh, okay, you are a threat, right? That's kind of the thing is you have hammy villains that aren't threatening that you're like, oh, you're just kind of like a hokey, hammy vaudeville villain. No, thank you. But then you have characters like Mori that can be like the ending of season 1 where he's been this like charming, bumbling, like, oh, I'm just a doctor. And then he shows up and like everybody bows down at his feet and he's like, what's happening? I'm like, ah! So I'm all about that. And the backstory we get with him meeting Fukuzawa, the backstory with him and Dazai, he's so fascinating. He has so much character like story with him. And then we've not gotten as much with Fukuzawa yet, but we've gotten just enough to be intriguing, especially when paired with Mori. So I'm satisfied with that list. For me, that's where I would put those characters at. I'll be excited to see after watching season 4 if people move or change anywhere. So we'll see. But that is my character tier. I will instantly regret it. I will have instant regrets, and you all will know. But yeah, so that's where we're at. But yeah, so I've talked for about an hour and a half about this. I do want to talk real quick about predictions for season 4. Because having read the manga and stopped and rewatched parts of the anime, what I liked about the ending of season 3 is that we really have no clue where the story's going. It kind of wraps up. So I remember back when I was watching season 3, people were like, we hope there's a season 4. And I was like, oh man, I do too. Because I remember back when I was watching season 3, I was like, I don't know if we're going to get it or not. And I was like, well, and then the way that it ends, you almost wonder because it ends in such a way that if you were to stop the series, you could have done it. Bones could have just let it go at 3 seasons and ended it. But no, they are animating the 4th season. And I'm like, all right. So I do have some predictions. They are only based on what I've seen from rereading the manga and watching the anime. I think Fyodor's getting out of prison. I don't think he's going to stay in jail at all. I think he's going to waltz right out of there. How he does it is going to be fun to figure out. Dazai versus Fyodor. We played a nice elaborate game of chess in the last season. What game of chess are we going to play this season? That part I'm excited for because I think Dazai and Fyodor are kind of matches for each other. It's like a Sherlock Moriarty vibe, and I'm really excited about it. So that's going to be fun to see. Will we get more Q? Q has a whole thing with mind control. I could see the way that Fyodor has been experimenting on people's brains. I could see him wanting to get a hold of Q, which would be really dangerous. So I don't know if we're going to get that or not, but maybe. Lucy, the guild, Steinbeck, Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's back and Dazai's been hanging out with him. So are we going to get anything with the guild? Is the guild going to get split in half? Because Steinbeck may want to lead the guild one way and Fitzgerald may want to lead it another way. How do we do that? Will Fitzgerald just form a new organization? We don't know. So that'll be interesting to follow and see. What new characters we're going to get. There's a whole bunch of new characters lined up, ready to go. So that's going to be fun. We get a whole new batch of characters. I'm going to be excited to look up their authors and their powers. It's going to be a fun time. That's going to be exciting. As far as Dazai goes, are him and Natsumi going to have any more conversations? Is Oda going to be brought back up? I hope he does. Especially if Atsushi is trying to get Akutagawa to not kill anymore in the Mafia, which is an Oda thing. Will Chuya and Dazai interact with Atsushi and Akutagawa? What do we do with Double Black? What do we do with New Double Black? Akutagawa not killing for 6 months. How's that going to go? What struggles is he going to face with that? Atsushi said at the end of season 3 he wanted to train with Kunikita. Close combat. How are we going to do that? Speaking of Kunikita, what is his mental state going to be post this arc? Because he got really messed up by Fyodor and watching that girl blow herself up. So what do we do with that? Where do we go to from here with that? That's going to be interesting. And then Mori and Fukuchan. What are we doing with their characters? Are they going to interact with Natsumi? How is Mori going to change anything with the Port Mafia? Is the agency going to change anything? Those are the questions that I have. They're kind of all scattered and there's not really a rhyme or reason to them, but I'm so clueless going into this next season and I'm really psyched about that. Because I like going in blind and not knowing what's going to happen. So that's why I didn't watch the other trailers, because I wanted to just know a little bit and then not know any more going into the series. That was my goal. And so I am excited to waltz into this series with no knowledge of where it's headed. That part has me excited quite a bit. So basically, down below, please no spoilers. I'll figure out in about a week. We'll start watching season 4. I'm so excited. But yeah, it's going to come out on Saturdays. It's going to take Death Note's spot. And I'm pretty excited about that. I'll have the week to kind of watch it and edit it and then have it out for Patreon. And it'll be out on YouTube the following week. So if you want to keep up with us in real time, week to week, you can get on Patreon. If not, you just wait an extra week and you can see the episode. So I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've watched the anime Bungo Stray Dogs. I mean, Juan was fun, but I'm not going to lie, I'm glad to go back. So I'm excited, y'all. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below about this hodgepodge of quirky randomness that was this recap, but I feel much better getting that off my chest. Now that I've talked about the series, got myself refreshed, I feel a lot better about it. So I'm excited, y'all. Season 4 is coming out and it should be a lot of fun. So we'll see. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with season 4 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Bye.